Mburu Machua TV, kemenyithia gya kihoto gyaku. Mburu Machua TV, your rights well
Ladies and gentlemen,
served.
welcome at Mburu Machua TV. Mburu Machua is a TV which basically talked about because of addressing issues affecting the community. Mburu Machua is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I've been practicing law in Kenya for the last 20 years. Over and above practicing law, I also do a number of other issues. I happen to be a Rotarian, whereby we give a lot to the community. I'm a teacher. I teach basically law. I'm in several media houses. And this program will be handling diverse issues. Number one, we want to handle holistic approach to law. And therefore, we'll be inviting various guests, basically in the legal sector and other sectors. We'll be handling topics like family law. We'll be looking about what is family, what is marriage, and everything which revolves about that. So we'll be looking about law of succession. We know there's a lot of challenges in the community about succession. People, families are killing each other because they do not really understand about law of succession, about issues like writing a will, amongst other issues. We also be handling land issues. We are in a situation in this country where people are buying land without knowing the legal processes which are required to be used. And many people are wasting or losing a lot of money. So we'll be looking about how do you buy land, the legal processes of conveyancing. We also be looking about children rights. We are having children who are basically oppressed by the parents, by the community. We'll be looking about who is a child, rights and duties of children. We'll be looking about the right of parents, abuses subjected to children. We also hope to look about criminal justice. And we'll be looking about your rights when you are arrested, what right you have at the police station, the court processes, what happened, particularly when you are not represented by an advocate. Remember, in this country, we have what we call an adversarial system. And therefore, it is important, it's cardinal to ensure that you're able to understand the legal processes. You also be looking about civil procedure. How can you file a case, particularly when you do not have an advocate? We have a situation whereby a party has an issue, but for one reason or the other may not be able to hire an advocate. How can you go about that? You also be looking about the law of tenancy and landlords. We have many people who are leasing houses, whether they are dwelling houses, they are business premises. We need them to understand their rights as tenants, their duties as tenants. We also have landlords and landladies. Again, we want them to understand their rights as landlords and landladies, their duties. The various platforms where you can take your grievances. If maybe your tenant is not paying rent, where do you go? Other issues we'll be looking about labor law. We'll be looking about rights of employers, duties of employers, rights of employees, duties of employees. And remember, even if you're a housewife and you have a house girl in the house, automatically you have become an employer. So you need to know your rights and the right of that particular person whom you have employed. You also be looking about commercial law. You'll be looking about various commercial issues like how do you register, let's say, a business name? How do you register a limited liability company? How can you register a SACCO? How can you register maybe a CPO, community-based organization? How can you register a trust? How can you register an NGO amongst other instruments, including things like a patent, intellectual property rights? We also be looking about law of contract. You remember since we got the new constitution, we have two levels of government. The young people who are getting contracts from the county governments, do they understand the nitty-gritty of that contract? Because again, you may be impressed, you have been given a contract of 2 million, just to realize that that contract, actually you may end up spending your money so that you can certify or implement that contract. Other issues you'll be looking about alternative dispute mechanism, what you call arbitration. You'll be engaging about the issues of, what do you do, because again, you do not have to go to court whenever you have a grievance, let's say with a family member, with a business, a partner, you can be able to have arbitration, and Arbitration Act has been enacted by Parliament. Other issues you'll be looking about, basically the banking. We need to understand the banking law. We'll be looking about issues like environment law. Now you know about the global climatic change is a reality. So we'll be looking about those issues in due course. We'll be looking about constitutional law. Again, you remember we had a BPI last year. Now the board opposition and the government, they are talking about changing the constitution. So we'll be looking about that, how should it be done, including the constitution, how to constitute IBC. Because again, you remember this country, we do not have now IBC. If something happens to the president and the deputy presidents, this country will be having what we call constitutional crisis. Other issues we'll be discussing, we'll be looking about holistic approach to environmental conservation. We have a global climatic crisis. We'll be looking about preparing fruit nurseries and other seedlings like apple, ornamental, indigenous, exotic. We'll be looking about things like the periodical tree planting. Where do you plant these trees? How do you plant them? We also be looking about things like water harvesting. Like now it's raining, we have a lot of rain. Now, how can we as a country be able to engage in water harvesting at individual level, at community level, at governmental level, both county and national government? We also be looking about renewable energy. How can the communities engage in things like a biogas, things like a solar, geothermal, things like wind energy. We also be looking about recycling for issues, things like biodegradable, things like plastic, papers. Other things we'll be looking about is basically, modern farming. We'll be looking about, we have a crisis of food in this country. That's time I had the presidency that we're spending more than 500 billion to import food in this country. This country has good soil. We periodically have rains, and therefore we'll be looking about how do you do urban farming. You remember since 2018 the government passed the parliament passed the Urban Farming Act. You'll be looking about how do you do things like vertical gardens, how you can use the sacks, how can you use your wall to do all farming. How do you do even water harvesting? How do you do water plants, dams, and all that? And then it will be engaging at the Mburu Machua TV. We'll be looking about entrepreneurship, businesses. We'll be looking about economic empowerment. What young people do to put money in the pocket. So we'll be talking about value addition. We'll be looking about how to start a business in a legal way. We'll be looking about resource mobilization. How can you write concept papers? How can you do proposal to the donors? How can you work with friends so that you bring resources together so that you start doing business? Another thing we'll be talking about basically, mental health. We know people are committing suicide, young people, children are committing suicide, and particularly men. The issue of basically mental health is a crisis. In other countries, in other jurisdictions, the governments are funding mental health. But this country, the larger of Africa, mental health is not taken seriously. I'm hoping now the national government, county government are coming with policies defining mental health. This will be looking about the issue of drugs, alcohol, and substance abuse. Again, we know we are also in a crisis. Recently, the media came with the issue. Actually reported that many people, including women, now they are taking drugs and alcohol and other substance abuse. You also be talking about sexuality. You'll be looking about, particularly now we are having cases where children are having children, girls who are basically children under 15 are getting babies. They are not even be able to take care of these children. We also be looking about issues of defilement. We'll be looking about sodomy. We'll be looking about rape and generally the negligence of our children. Other areas we'll be discussing at Mburu Machua TV is about leadership. We're in a crisis. People are electing since 2010. We have 6 positions which are represented at the various leadership forums. We have MCA. Do you understand the work of the MCA so that when you pick X and you leave Y, do you understand what the Constitution says about the work of the MCA? What about the work of the Member of Parliament? For you to elect Kamau, you leave Onyango. So do you understand why you are doing that? What is the role of a Member of Parliament? What about the Senator? What's the role of the Senator? So at Mburu Machua, you'll be looking about the role of a Senator. So that next time, because 2027 is coming fast and furious. You people to understand the work of a senator, so that when these guys come to you, you'll be able to know this guy can do this job because he's qualified. What about the governor? What about the women? What about even the president? Because this country has around 50 million people.
Mburu Machua TV, kemenyithia gya kihoto gyaku. Mburu Machua TV, your rights well served.